Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Welcome back. Well, I keep looking at all these stories by so-called fact checkers in the media calling other journalists fake news. They're really not fact checkers. They're really not journalists either. They're anti-journalists. The job of a fact checker, especially at a CBC state broadcaster or another mainstream media outlet, is usually to discredit contrary narratives. As we've shown you before, during the pandemic, most CBC fact checks are simply trying to tamp out other points of view that ultimately turn out to be accurate. For example, the CBC again and again said it simply was misinformation and fake news that Justin Trudeau was setting up forced confinement centers at airports. In fact, as we now know, that is exactly what happened. No one has bothered to fact check the fact checkers. Well, now that fact checking misinformation battle is going deep. As it turns out, Microsoft is part of a coalition that is trying to trace every word, every video on the internet to its original source. I learned about this in a terrifying article in Breitbart.com written by our friend Alan Bokhari. Let me read the headline to you. Microsoft and friends want to destroy online privacy. They're talking about a coalition called the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. C2PA is the name of it, and it would effectively end all internet privacy, or at least what little is left. Joining us now via Skype is Alan Bokhari, the author of this report. Alan, great to see you again. Just when you thought the news couldn't get any worse, can you tell us a little bit about what this Microsoft-led project would do? I don't think I explained very well. What privacy would this eliminate?
Hi, Ezra. Good to be on. And, you know, I don't say this lightly, but I genuinely think this particular story, which hasn't got much attention yet, is big tech's most brazen power grab yet. It goes beyond even, banning the president as they did last month. This is enormous because what the goal of this organization seems to be, as you said, they want to track every piece of content, everything that's created and goes onto the internet. They want to know the authorship. They want to know the provenance. That's their stated goal. And when you look at the companies that are involved in this coalition, you have Microsoft, which runs Word, which runs Paint, which runs, they have their own video making software as well. You've got Adobe also, that if you make a PDF, it's from Adobe. If you use Photoshop, that's Adobe. Premiere Pro, the #1 video creating software, that's Adobe too. There's also a company that's developed technology that traces photos from the moment you capture them on smartphones. So when you take all these groups together, you have all those companies working together to trace the origin of content. It's impossible to imagine how privacy and online anonymity can survive. But that's not the worst thing about it. It would be bad enough if just those companies were involved, but also involved is Intel. Intel is the market-leading manufacturer of central processing units, CPUs, microchips. The CPU sees everything that you do on your computer. It processes all information, whether the computer is online or offline. If Intel is going to be involved in this initiative and they're going to use CPUs to track the provenance of content, there's nowhere left to hide. Now, they haven't stated up front that they're going to do that, but that seems to be the goal here. They said they want to establish provenance. They want to establish authorship. And if Intel isn't going to do that, if they aren't going to use their CPUs to do that, why are they part of this coalition?
Yeah, very interesting. Microsoft controls so many things. If I'm not mistaken, Outlook, which is a major email provider. I think they even own Skype, if I'm not mistaken. So
they do own Skype.
So many different things. And I know, for example, I've used a lot of these programs. Many people have. You're talking about some of the most popular programs around. We edit our videos using Adobe Premiere, if I'm not mistaken. I know that when you create a Word document, if you click on Properties, I think it's called, it says the name of the person and whatnot. But you can make a document private. You can hide that In Adobe, you can redact that, because people know there are some times when you want privacy. You don't want the name of every single person who touched the document on it. That's a valuable thing, and there's very good reasons for that. It sounds like all of that will be wiped out, and I can't think of a good rationale for that other than ending any anonymity for political reasons. And you quote from the predecessor group. This group is called the Coalition for Content, Provenance, and Authenticity. You mentioned they had a precursor group called Project Origin. And what scares me, Alan, is that the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Trudeau's state broadcaster, was part of it. I'm just going to read the mission statement, and I'd love for you to give me your thoughts on this. Misinformation, and I'm quoting from your article, misinformation is a growing threat to the integrity of the information ecosystem. This is Project Origin's mission statement. Having a provable source of origin for media and knowing that it has not been tampered with en route will help to maintain confidence in news from trusted providers. And that's why I started by talking about CBC. They've been trying to smear any political dissidents as misinformation. Turns out they were misinformation. The fact that a state broadcaster is involved in hunting down who wrote what and who changed what, that gives me the willies, Alan.
Yeah, and it wasn't at all surprising to me to see how many media organizations are involved in this, because this is sort of like the end game of censorship. If you can trace all content online, you can then assign it different levels of importance. You can prioritize certain types of content in your algorithms based on where it comes from. And it's a lot easier to do that if there are signals attached to every document and every video and everything that's created on your computer that anyone can read once it hits the internet. So it's an absolutely essential thing if you want to censor information, if you want to prioritize the content of mainstream media outlets, which is, of course, what media has been pushing for the past 4 years. They don't really care if they're going to destroy online anonymity and privacy in the process, because that's the whole point. They don't want dissident information to be able to thrive and to be able to spread.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.